In 701 BC, the Assyrian war machine was marching toward Jerusalem with the single-minded goal of obliterating it. The Assyrians maintained their military supremacy through a mathematical advantage in specialized weaponry, heavily armed cavalry, and archers that made physical resistance appear suicidal. Inside the city, King Hezekiah and his advisors realized their own forces were insufficient. Panic set in as they watched the horizon, knowing their walls would soon be tested by a superior power. To counter this, Judah sought a logical political alliance with Egypt's 25th dynasty. They sent envoys south, hoping to buy the protection of the Kushite pharaohs and their legendary military support. In the ancient world, survival meant securing the largest possible human army. This forced Judah into a clash between the cold necessity of political pragmatism and the weight of a divine promise. Isaiah steps into this negotiation with a 9-verse poem that completely dismantles the king's survival strategy. Isaiah provides a devastating critique. The Egyptian chariots and horses that Judah views as their salvation are actually an illusion of safety. He uses a sharp linguistic contrast. Egyptians are bashar, flesh and human limitation, while God is ruach, infinite spirit. There is also biting irony in the verb yarad, to go down. The advisors are descending to Egypt, their ancestral place of slavery, to beg for lives. The true threat to Jerusalem's survival is the internal urge to trust invisible military hardware over the unseen presence of God. Isaiah illustrates this divine presence through a mind-bending metaphor. He describes God as a roaring lion standing over its prey, entirely unmoved by a crowd of shouting shepherds trying to scare it away. But then he places this lion squarely on Mount Zion, the religious and political heart of Jerusalem. In verse 4, the Hebrew text relies on the preposition al, which carries a terrifying ambiguity. Does this lion come down to fight for Mount Zion, or does it come to fight against it? The prophetic logic suggests that both are happening at the same time. God acts with the precision of a surgeon, attacking the arrogant pride of Judah's leaders, even as he shields the city from the Assyrian Empire. In verse 5, the metaphors shift suddenly. The terrifying lion is replaced by an image of tender protection, a mother bird hovering over her nest. Isaiah uses the Hebrew word pasoach to describe this protection, a word sharing its root with Pesach, or Passover. Here, pasoach means fierce shielding. It's the act of standing before the door to protect the inhabitants from a coming destroyer. The poem is built on a mirror structure, hinging on the verb hatat, meaning to shatter. In verse 4, the lion refuses to be hatat. By verse 9, the mirror completes itself. The massive Assyrian Empire is the one that completely shatters. The world's most advanced military machine collapses not because it met a larger army, but because it collided with an immovable divine force. This leads to the central promise of the prophecy. Assyria will be defeated, but specifically not by a human sword. This was historically fulfilled when the Assyrian army was devastated overnight by a plague or an angel, forcing an emperor like Sennacherib to retreat without engaging in a single battle. This weaponless victory establishes a new logic of power. God does not win by wielding a bigger sword, but by rendering the sword itself irrelevant. This pattern of winning through the refusal of force finds its ultimate fulfillment at Golgotha. As Assyria fell without a blade, the cross reveals a king conquering death by entering it unarmed. Isaiah concludes with a lingering image of God's presence residing in Jerusalem as a permanent, consuming force. He uses the Hebrew word ur, which contains a fascinating linguistic fork in the road. Depending on the reader's perspective, ur translates as either a terrifying furnace of destruction or a warm, guiding light. Gregory the Great observed that God's presence remains a constant fire. The difference is found in the spiritual posture of the person standing within it. True security is found by abandoning our frantic reliance on horses and chariots and stepping into that protecting, terrifying fire of the unseen.